Go! Breaking news. Welcome to today's headlines. Huriwa backs Buhari on cause of insecurity. Huriwa backs Buhari on cause of insecurity. To my dear listeners from wherever you're listening from, please stay tuned as I read today's news. The position canvassed recently by President Muhammadu Buhari during a state visit to Owerri, Imo State, blaming the elite for the heightened state of insecurity in the country, has found solid endorsement from a prominent civil rights advocacy group, Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, Huriwa, which also canvassed elite-led resolution of the worrying situation. We are convinced that Mr. President stated the whole truth and nothing but the truth for blaming the elite for the nearly intractable insecurity in part of Nigeria. Primarily, the political class or elite, which at the moment President Muhammadu Buhari is at the head of the pyramid, is solely responsible for the insecurity and has continued to stoke up the fires of insecurity through crass misgovernance, corruption, and lack of empathy for the suffering masses of Nigeria. The policy of divide and rule and the nepotistic appointments are to the root of the heightened state of insecurity and distrust in the country. The right group, in a media statement signed by the National Coordinator Comrade Emmanuel Owubiko, cited the example of the southeast region of Nigeria, which used to be comparatively very peaceful and economically viable, but with the coming of President Muhammadu Buhari's government and the implementation of apartheid kind of policies, including the explicit exclusion of representatives of the Igbo-speaking state in virtually all strategic national security institutions. This policy of exclusion by President Buhari motivated some millions of young people of Southeast extraction to interpret this to mean that they are no longer wanted in the United Nigerian Federation, thereby pushing some groups to canvass for self-determination, which they believe is supported by the global human rights laws. The counter-Carol's reactions to the peaceful exercise of advocacy for self-determination by both the political elite of the central government in Nigeria and the southeast state compounded the problems of insecurity that got instigated by the selective prescription of what was said to be the peaceful agitation of self-rule by the now proscribed indigenous peoples of Biafra, IPOB. Besides, Huriwa has for the umpteenth time canvassed an end to the deliberate persecution of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and his proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, whereas such notorious and divisive groups like the Miyetti Allah Cattle Owners Association, that is perceived to be the sponsor of hundreds of armed attacks of farming communities all across the country and the killing of over 3,000 citizens in southern Kaduna, Benue State, and other communities, is still being spared and indeed is perceived to be pampered by top officials of the government headed by President Buhari, who is Fulani by ethnic origin. May we repeat our call that for lasting peace to reign in the southeast of Nigeria. The governors and political leaders must unite under a single purpose umbrella to end the systematic persecution by the federal government of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and both the southeast state and the federal government should consider the proscription of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and work out mechanisms for constructive and peaceful dialogues and an immediate cessation of armed conflict of any type, including the use of extrajudicial executions of Igbo youth by security forces. All those agitating for self-determination should publicly denounce armed struggles, just as all targeted violent attacks on institutions and officials of the federal government and those of the state must be called off for the sake of the immediate, comprehensive, and sustainable restoration of peace in the southeast of Nigeria, Huriwa affirmed. Huriwa recalled that President Muhammadu Buhari blamed the Nigerian elite for not contributing to the development of the country, particularly the fight against insecurity, just as President Buhari stated this last Tuesday shortly after commissioning some project in Imo State done by Governor Hope Uzodinma's administration. Huriwa quoted President Buhari to have said, Nigeria has not recorded the expected development because of a number of factors and the inability of the elite to assist the country, even as President Buhari stated this. To be frank with you, I am blaming the Nigerian elite for not sitting and thinking hard about our country between 1999 and 2015 when we came in. I like people to check from the Central Bank of Nigeria and NNPC. The average oil production was 2.1 million barrels per day at the cost $100 per barrel. So, Nigeria was earning at this time 2.1 million times multiplied by $100 per barrel. But look at the state of infrastructure. Look at the railway. It was virtually killed. Powerway are still struggling. Huriwa has therefore challenged President Buhari to begin the process of peace building and dialogues to restore security and stability, not just in southeast of Nigeria but Nigeria collectively, even as the rights group canvassed the implementation of far-reaching policies to ensure that all those who lost their people are given justice, including thousands of families whose relatives suffered extrajudicial killings by security forces. To my dear listeners, now I've come to the end of our today's news.